Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts, I can make a difference to your life.
Effortless Attraction Podcast is sponsored by Maria Young Wellbeing, wellness mentor and creator of Infusion, a platform designed to inspire health, wealth, abundance, and a life lived with purpose. Maria conducts events, trainings, and the blending of practical tools for lasting change. Her mission is simple: to help you live well and rise strong. You can explore more at www.mariayoungwellbeing.co.uk or infusion.mn.co.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another Effortless Attraction podcast. Well, today I am joined by Raymond Rayzor Forbes. I love this because it sounds like a boxing name. Raymond is the founder of Rayzor Mindset, a recovery and personal development platform built from lived experience. After decades battling addiction, relapse, and false recoveries, Raymond reached a turning point in 2024 when he stopped simply quitting behaviours and began rebuilding his mindset through discipline, daily habits, and personal development. Fast forward 19 months, free from toxic habits, Raymond shares a raw, practical message around responsibility, mindset, and why real recovery is built one day at a time. Through content, talks, and mentorship, he helps others move from survival into clarity, peace, and purpose. You are most welcome today, Raymond, and thank you for your time.
Emily, thank you for, I'm very humbled to be here, to be honest, yeah.
When I was reading that out, 2024, at the recording here, we're now at the tail end of 2025. And so from that, you've set up your mentorship, your mindset, you're out doing your talks. The end result looks great. Can I take you possibly back to the 30 years of battling with the chronic gambling addiction and abusing drink and drugs to cope with that? You described life as a nightmare at that time, Raymond. And I know you through people that know you. And from the outside, you see this very successful businessman, a family man, happy-go-lucky type guy, would do anything for you. But as it turns out, maybe not necessarily the case, Raymond.
Exactly. That's addiction at its best, the manipulation of it, the mask that you put on through addiction, especially gambling addiction. Everybody's got their own vices. For me, the one that controlled me was gambling. It is the most secretive killer of addictions because it's so secretive. 30 years of gambling, which led to 30 years of other bases to cope with it. It started very, very young in my life. Very, very young. Gambling had me from the very first dopamine hit I got of it. This journey here has taught me so much the last 19 months. It has taught me so much about connections, not addictions, connections, because I was connected to gambling for it to give me that false reality that I was living in my mindset. And it took a long, long time and a lot of pain, a lot of agony, and also a lot of people had to suffer with me. My trauma started very, very young, at a very young boy. Now, my trauma is not really needs to be talked about here today. It's what people, everybody's trauma is different. Mine was what it was. People's traumas can be death, it can be abuse, it can be this, that, and that. But it's what essentially leads to. And that's where my connection started with gambling. It was an escape. I wanted to escape from something at a very young age.
Of course.
And unfortunately, that escape became an escape from me all my life. Escaping from that young boy. I struggle now to call myself an addict. I struggle with that there. I have come to, because this is what personal mindset development, this is what my new mindsets give me. This is the education that I have now that I want to, I'm not saying that I'm putting out there to people. You can't keep calling yourself an addict because you're going to continue to be connected to that, whatever it may be.
Yes, of course.
I was connected to gambling. I was connected to drink to cope with gambling. I was connected to cocaine, to drugs, to deal with, the
It had a
consequences.
snowball effect. One was connected to the other. And as we will get talking about, you say this journey of, well, recovery or, the new Raymond. When you take a look back and you think, I know I've had a past because there's evidence of it, but as you say now, I find it difficult to use that word, an addict, because I don't want to associate that. But I see that that was the person that I was at that stage. And of course, then it has this detrimental effect, Raymond, on not just you, but everybody else around you. But is it impossible or difficult to see at that time? Because I'm trying to connect with people that perhaps are listening to the podcast at this stage. Is it difficult to see the upset, the annoyance, the fear that you cause to other people when you're in that addiction?
Well, obviously people sees all people's pains, and addict sees all people's pains. But when you're in the throes of that, when you're not there, when your mental health in that state, we have to hold the mental health part is here, right? When you don't care about yourself, when your daily thoughts is overpowered by looking dopamine, is overpowered of looking this is so-called solution for your thinking or your traumas. All people's feelings are not important, and you can't grasp it, as
Yeah.
much as you want, but you can't deal with yourself. You know, eh, the mental health side of it, addicts are people who are dealing with, having to deal with themselves. And the question you ask them, how they can see other people's pains. They can see it, but they can't feel it. They've that much pain in themselves, and that's why they keep on abusing themselves,
Yeah.
abusing their bodies, abusing their minds, and they're looking for a solution, not knowing the solutions in here.
Yeah.
But this is the stuff, that I want to educate people on today, is you don't learn this in treatment centers. You don't learn this in mental hospitals. I've been in mental hospitals. I've been sections under the Mental Health Act. I've been in pot cells. I've been in there throwing a vein. And all these places give you, this is the way your life's going to end up. Not way how your life could be if you change your habits, you change your mindset, you
Well,
know.
do you know what? But Raymond, that would explain, even for people that are listening to this, that perhaps have a family member in their house, a mother, a wife, a husband, whatever and someone is in their household and like they're at their wits' end. How can I help this person? But you have just answered something that's extremely important there. Someone that's addicted, and they perhaps don't even see it as an addiction, they can see your hurt and your pain, but they cannot feel it until
Oh,
they get to a certain point in their life where there is, please God, for them, that there is a turning point. And that had to come in your life, Raymond. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
I've hit so many rock bottoms. You know, Somebody described one time I've been lower than dust underneath your mat. And that's how I've been mentally. I've hit rock bottom, and I've climbed. Talk about climbing. I talk about climbing them mountains I've climbed. I climbed them mountains, many mountains, with no safety harness on. I climbed mountains and recoveries with egos. All I ever done in any of my recoveries was I just stopped suffering. Stopping suffering is not enough. Stopping gambling wasn't enough because I stopped gambling. Let's say my last time in the treatment centre in 2010, before my first son was born, I stopped gambling. I actually, when I came out of there, I started working for your brother, and I started building, started trying to rebuild myself. Then I started trying to get back into business again. I started building all that there. I was building the exterior stuff, but hadn't still dealt with the internal stuff. You know, I still hadn't dealt. I still had that mindset that had put me in the treatment centre. You cannot, any addict out there who comes to talk to me, I say you cannot live exterior to you're fixed internally. You have to heal internally to live externally. And there's no treatment centre, there's no counsellors that can help you to do this here. This is something you have to do yourself. This is a very strong mindset. what put me in this journey here now, 19 months ago, and I say this out loud, was was one of the biggest things I had to do to get on this path. I knew I'm coming this year on January 2026. I was 6 years off gambling. 6 years off gambling. So everybody, as you would have seen, and people have seen, Raymond's life's going all right. I for the first 4.5 years, I couldn't deal with the losses of the last relapse, of the last rock bottom that I thought was. For 4.5 years, I was a substance abuser, and I wasn't a recreational one. I was taking substance 6 or 7 days a week. Until I got a spiritual awakening this time, that the people I was holding resentments for, the people in the world around me was moving on, and I was slowly dying inside. And I was mentally dying. There's something coming into me here and making me feel this again. I knew I had to change this time. I reached out, and this is where this new journey started. I went clean living. They talk about the squeeze of an orange. You squeeze an orange, what comes out of it? Orange juice. Because that's all that's inside it. This time here, I was squeezed that much. I had to get everything out of me. I had to let the resentments go of the people who was moving on their lives. That's all they had done, was moving on their lives, and I was slowly dying inside. I know there's a power greater than myself came into me and has helped me get to here. And it's been this has been the last 19 months of my life has been the best 19 months. I don't need a day of them back. All the time I chased success and it run. And every time I was climbing a mountain, I was building a train track beside it. With the egos, the arrogance, I'm invincible because I quit gambling until I hit the train crash. Yeah. Recovery is not about success. The biggest success in recovery is rebuilding with the man or the woman.
Yeah. In your videos, you talk about the subconscious mind and again, listen, this has been a passion of mine for many, many years as well, Raymond. That's why I was drawn into the videos that you were creating as well. And when you talked about squeezing the orange, I heard a bit of Wayne Dyer there. I don't know whether you follow Wayne, but that's, his work, you cannot take from something what they cannot give you. Hats off to you for actually, because that's the word that sits right for you also, Raymond, when you say this spiritual awakening. Other people might use a different word of that, but it's a feeling that people receive. Imagine being numbed for all of those years to not feel anything. And then something happens, or it's like, I'm changing this. I'm changing this story. This isn't me. I'm making this. I'm figuring this out. This has to come from the inside out. And in order for me to heal, I have to let go of the resentments. I have to let go of that attitude. And I've heard this from other ones. I don't care. Or the world's against me. It's the poor me, and then we have all these other things. Yeah. So, and that has to be the changing point. And then you start reprogramming. Joe Dispenza, he's a quantum physics guy into science, and I love that, and I love all aspects of anything that's energy as well. But Joe Dispenza says by the age of 35, by the time we turn 35, 95% of our subconscious is already programmed. Your personality, your habits, your beliefs. You can almost go into automatic pilot. You don't even have to think about much. So there's that 5%. And that 5% in you, those times before, when about, going into rehab or into different institutions, that 5%, but you could imagine the odds heavily stacked against. But as you have I read out in your bio, one day at a time. So every day, if I can feed that 5% with another percent, and then that grows. So the other part that was programmed into you, that I need the gambling, I need the drugs, I need this, it becomes less and less and less. And then we see the new Raymond step forward, because now what you're teaching people is reprogramming the mind.
I say this, it's a rinse repeat. I say it every day, and I describe this the best way the other day. Your phone does not progress without a software update. It'll stay in standstill. I reset my mindset every morning. I get up with gratitude. I say a serenity prayer. I'm thankful for yesterday. I'm thankful that I'm here today. 19 months ago, if I hadn't took this here spiritual awakening, if I hadn't reached out, if I hadn't have got on this here spiritual journey, we're spiritual beings. And I think people cannot grasp that there. We are spiritual beings, and we have to have some recovery. There has to be some sort of spiritual connection. I'm locked in that there. There's a power greater, the power inside me at the minute, that has given me the ability to somebody said to me the other day, reached out to me, look, he wants to maybe go to my mentorship next year. He says, my happiness is contagious. And that just triggers something to me. It says, well, my misery would have been very contagious too. And it would have been because I made a lot of people miserable. And this is what it is. You talk about energy. The energy, I can see the energy I give out at my work. I can see the energy I give out on my social media. Energy is contagious. I suck the life out of people's energy for years. I don't suck anybody's energy anymore. And I talk about this, this is a massive, massive thing. I have to have a software update every day. Yesterday's gone. Today, you'd have the 1%. I do believe I have to go on a program to go back to sabotage. And this is somebody from 17 years of age who I never ever took a break from drugs from 17 to 47. That's 30 years of drug taking. I've always had a period on and off of gambling. I've never had an issue with drink. I just abused drink because it was the easiest thing to get me to sleep, to deal with all this stuff. But how can somebody who's been connected with so many bases suddenly switch it off and now get connected to personal development, to running? For years, I couldn't look in a mirror. I couldn't look at myself. I hated. Life is not. Life is a mirror. It's supposed to looking back at you. It's the most important thing. And addicts do not love themselves. And if the ego was there in an addict to say, I love myself, the fear to say, the fact that not worth loving. You have to love yourself before you, how can anybody else love you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all self-love. It's all self-healing. My journey is about progress, not perfection. If I chase perfection, I am going to fall again. Would you chase runs? People want, I know people want to come on this program and think they're going to get better after 90 days. You're not going to get better after 90 days. 90 days, you're still going to be struggling. But at least you should have something in there to know I'm feeling better. Let's go, keep going. The test days and the best days.
Yeah.
I am far from perfect. I live in a normal house. I've got children. I've got one son, ADHD. We have our struggles, but we don't have to. We're fit to manage it. I'm managing me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was going back there on something you said about that feeling again, and about us being spiritual beings. And something come into me there, just thinking, you never probably felt it before because you had everything numbed off. It's very difficult for us when we talk about that bit of inspiration or something that just happens or something that just comes in when we're in that dark, dark place, because only shitty things come in on that dark place. Shitty thoughts, shitty people, shitty events. Because life, as you say about the mirror, I always say that life is a mirror image. Life shows up as we are. So the importance of that self-love, which is not ego, which is absolutely not. It's trying to, as much as we have to let go of the anger that we have towards others or events that have taken place in our lives. And that can be extremely difficult, for people because of certain things that have taken place. But we also have to let go of ourselves, of that, God, how did you manage to end up there? How did you do this again? Why don't you have money? Being angry with ourselves, because that's where it has to start.
You have to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not somebody like an altar rails. I've got my own spiritual connection, right? All my life, I've been on my hands and knees asking God to get me out of holes. Please don't let me get me out of this situation. Don't let this. I'll never do this again. I do not ask God for anything anymore. I thank Him. I ask Him what I can do. I just keep thanking every day. I'm not there. I'm not at the chapel all the time. I was at my nativity play last night, and that was even something to be. My child's nativity play, to sit there with peace and serenity. To sit here and not like a person who only up to 18 months ago would not have been on that floor in the kitchen the demon hunters dancing with my daughter. healing, recovery for addicts is about a peaceful mind. When somebody tells me that they see a change in me, they don't see a change in my finances, they don't see a change in my car, they see a change in me. I know I'm in the right path,
Yeah.
and that's massive.
Raymond, in all of this, over these 19 months, we have to let things go. And sometimes that's what we thought perhaps were friendships or acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
In all of that, again, yes, you'll have people coming, God, Raymond Forbes got all holy of himself. Or that people have had to leave your life that you've had to let go of because it doesn't serve you anymore.
People, places, and things, especially for people in recovery, the people you hung with. You hang with shite, you're going to smell like shite. You know, you be in toxic environment, you're going to do toxic things. People, places, and things. Listen, there's something I learned something 6 years ago when I went to mine. I mean all my needs. You will find out your circle is when you are there. If it's right you. I thought I had loads of friends. I had associates all my life. I know who's I count them maybe one hand. And you get in your 40s or 50s, your circle should be very small anyway.
Mm.
It people, places, and things.
See, when you bring yourself to the place of peace,
Yeah.
you don't need a lot in life. You spoke about, and I've written this down, to create new habits, simple habits to create a simple life.
Mhm.
Now, this simple life, because we had a wee chat before we come on here, I was on about the simple life here in Spain. Do you think is that something that's extremely underestimated? Because I've been talking to a few, especially coming up to Christmas. Now, over in Ireland, it's more chaotic coming up to Christmas. And perhaps the children that have never known without, that they have to keep buying and buying, that they have this extremity of surplus of things. For me, it's repulsive because it's not how we were reared or brought up. But I just think that this having to have, and it's not a simple life.
I made that mistake when I was my kids very young, and that was a part I've not been. That was that's mistakes. You know, the material things that comes back to bite you. Material things don't buy love. In fact, they create misery. You know, I know you're talking about this time of year of having so much only for free. How do I live a simple life? I get up, I eat as healthy as I can. That's what I call my simple life compared to what it was chaos, a chaotic life, a chaotic mindset. It's just doing a bit of running, doing a bit of walk, and I come home in the evenings and I spend it there, and it's just peaceful.
Yeah.
I was at an event there. I was out for the first time in 19 months, and it just dawned on me I haven't been out in 19 months. I went, I haven't missed nothing. Nobody's missed me there. You understand?
Just talking about that, congratulations for I saw you popped up. You got an award at the local
I you
women's.
know I will never take any credit for this here. I was representing the bar. You know what? I was, as I said, business. This is another thing I want to touch on. All my businesses went well. You know what? The person in the back office wasn't well. He was fit to run the front office very well. They wasn't run the back office. That's the same thing with me. People, I pretend everything was well on the outside, and the inside, I was dying. The business was well on the outside, in the back office, it was dying because there was a very unstable person running it. You know, um, after the last business we wrapped it up, I was asked to go to run somebody else's business. Somebody can still see my potential, and I only had 6 months there a year, so I was just there, representing them. But I was representing me. I was representing the new Raven as well, because I
Yeah,
was up there sober, clean, smile on my face. I'm proud.
yeah, yeah. Well, Belinda Carlisle once upon a time says heaven was a place on earth.
Yeah.
And we created ourselves. It can be heaven or it can be hell. You've lived in hell long enough, and fair play to you. I see you out now. I think fair play to this man. You're doing all these cold dips. You've raised a lot of money for cancer there It was snowing one morning, you were in one of them ice baths outside, and that is mindset there, Raymond.
19 months. This is the biggest, that there, my wee tub out there, I would call that the biggest antibiotic tablet you can have. People run to the doctors with a script. He has them script, they come again. They're connected to another thing. They're connected to the fluoxetine, they're connected to the diazepam. All the stuff you need for anxiety, depression is in a cold tub. I actually sometimes wonder where my anxiety went to. I have zero anxiety. I shared this on it before I go to work. I go to that there. That's my new energy going to work as opposed to what it was. There's so much in cold water. 19 months of cold water therapy. I haven't done it now 2 days, and I told you already I was sick. I was feeling sick. And when I for a walk this morning, I got back in that the weekend. Every morning, cold water therapy. Game changer for the mindset. It is unbelievable.
So what you're doing, you're out, you're talking at schools to young kids, and Raymond, this should have been in a long time ago, where perhaps we can nip this in the bud. And drugs and gambling and that, as we think in the countryside, or I'm getting to hear it's all over the place.
There's
So if
an
there's
epidemic.
people, yeah, if there's people like yourself going in and saying, guys, it's not all about academic qualifications. We need to have mindset in place, and these are the
100%.
things.
100%.
So you're offering with your mentorship as well, it's addiction and mental health education, tools and advice to break destructive habits, understanding gambling addiction, secrecy, how to support rather than shame, and what proper recovery actually looks like. To be able to assist and to help people, your first port of call when you wanted this change was for you. Then it has
Mm-hmm.
this ripple effect, Raymond, now to your wife and children. Thank God, because hats off to the wife as well.
Darling, my partner of more than my three children, we met in 2001, actually, in the ball I used to run for 7 years. They called me in. And she has seen every rock bottom. She's seen every goal been hit, and she's seen every failure as well after the goal been hit. She's seen me climbing the mountains and falling down the other side of it, and always there to pick me up again and never
Yeah.
judging me. Even this transformation here now was tough for her, because in fact, so I went totally clean living, and Charlie can understand why I went totally clean living. I said I wanted to see what it feels like to live in a totally clean environment in my head. And now that I've started living in it, I can't see why I'd want to change it. Charlie's always having to adapt to my changes.
Yeah.
And that's a very strong woman to do that.
And some people could think, oh, you've got boring. You don't drink now. You don't
And
party like you
part of
used to
it is
do.
probably having a bit boring, but you just mentioned boredom, man. Boring. Addicts don't realize, and this is going to be the biggest struggle they'll ever have. Boredom is going to be a newfound freedom. Their boredom. That's how they deal with their boredom. How are they going to sit in a room with that lunatic that was there? Because you talk about the subconscious, conscious, that person, that ego is always, is there something in my head all the time telling me, you can do this, you can do that. And that's the ego. And I can sit in that living room with that. You have to be fit to sit with that lunatic that you were. Your boredom is your newfound freedom. And addicts have to, this is where they struggle at the most. This is where the
Mhm.
personal development is key.
A lot of people sometimes struggle with being in their own company. They're afraid of the thoughts. And they see that rather than it's like loneliness, they need a need to be doing something, at something because I couldn't sit about. And I see that in people's lives, how extremely fast paced it gets, fast living with work, fast living with the children and all of their activities, just quick, 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 quick. And that even with or without addiction, some people find it very hard to stop. They don't know what to do when I'm not doing.
You have to fit and enjoy your own company, Evelyn. And you can't be a slave. You can't be a slave to your success either. You cannot be a slave to your success. You just can't work yourself to bone. This is where patience, serenity. This is why the personal development mindset is so key. I am totally locked in on mindset. A mindset, you are your thoughts, you are your thinking, and it will say everything you do. If you go to bed feeling like, excuse me, feeling like a piece of shit, you're going to wake up feeling like that. You go to bed with negativity, you're going to wake up with negativity. We are our thoughts.
Yeah.
You said that.
And I 100% agree with you. Absolutely, Raymond. That's when myself and Jim got together. Perhaps our beliefs and things are different, but one thing that we definitely had in common was gratitude. Jim would always say how grateful that he is to have his health, to be going out and walking and hiking over mountains. And people actually find it shocking that he's not on any, because of his age, and he's not an old man, but that he's not on any sort of medication. He says no. He's always been grateful for his health and, the ability to get out and walk. So even if a challenge or something arises in our lives, we go into gratitude. Let's give gratitude for the person, the man, the woman, or how the situation will be resolved rather than getting stuck into the problem. And that's hard for people to believe. I think it's difficult for people to believe the power of our words, the power of our mind, and it's the unimaginable. That's what I love when people put their mind to that and speak it as though the wish is already fulfilled, but
Mhm.
not to need it or want it to fill me up, to fulfill a void, because you will receive it, but it's not going to fill the void. The only thing that you can do is in this present moment is the appreciation of self, the love of self, and everything the exterior is a bonus.
Yeah. Somebody put this to me. Would you resist, persist? If you keep resisting the thought of coming into court, you keep resisting help. There's too many spectators out there. I said this yesterday. Don't be a spectator of somebody else's recovery. Stop spectating, procrastinating. Stop. This is all mindset too. It has to be. People are seeing it with the fear of having to do it. Would you resist, persist? Would you chase, runs?
Yeah.
Simple habits, simple life.
Absolutely. And you said there earlier, about God, which we all did and we were all trained. Please, God, please
Yeah,
keep us safe. Please, God, somebody can pass their exams. Please, God. So you're asking and to this person that we were brought up with that belief, rather than if we give thanks, thank you for that I am more than provided for. Thank you for our safe travels, even though the travels haven't existed. But thank you for that, as though it's already taken place. Thank you. That give thanks as though it's
thank
already
you for
there.
taking care of me. Thank you. I know it's a small word with such a big meaning.
So you are changing the lives of many people, Raymond. And thank you very much for that. You are making a difference. And that's what Effortless Attraction Podcast is all about, making the difference in people's lives. And I'm going to put in the description your contact details if anyone would like to reach out. If you're on social media, you will certainly see daily videos or most every day on Facebook and Instagram. That's the ones I'm on.
Snapchat seems to be my biggest platform, and that's where I started off with Snapchat, and then I moved over to Instagram and Facebook. I get up every day to inspire, and that's what I want to do: inspire, 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 and keep inspiring.
Yeah.
Um, and by me inspiring, it keeps me smiling, it keeps me on the ball. I love my life in a minute, and there's very little material things in it. I not need anything. I have all I need. If I want something, I'll buy it. This is what I have to learn the value of life, the value of money.
Well, there we have it. We have Raymond Razor.
Razor. Rayzor. You like that, do you?
Yeah, it sounds like a boxer name.
Yeah.
And in the blue corner, Razor Mindset. I will put all of your details, and I really hope whoever listens to this podcast, firstly, if you've never experienced a family member or experienced any sort of addiction, that by listening to this podcast, it helps you to drop judgment on others. And here's another point, by the way, before we finish. Some addictions are more noted, like people will see gambling, drugs, drink, all of that. But we have other addictions like shopping, social media. We
The
all
list
have
is
addictions.
the list is ever ending.
Yeah,
Somebody on there, I hope this is somebody's on the morning on this morning, an ex-football star addicted to watching porn,
yeah.
shopping, porn, work. So when someone's controlling your life, my life, I would describe as a nightmare. I lived in a nightmare. The nightmare is over. We don't have to live in a nightmare. We just have to learn how to live in a peaceful mindset.
Well, Raymond, I shall leave you with that last closing statement. Thank you so much for your time today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. And I'm always intrigued and interested to get a bit of feedback. So, whatever platform you're listening on today, I would appreciate if you want to leave a wee comment or two. Raymond, thank you so much.
Good evening. Bye bye.